We're coming closer and closer to the election, and for Minnesota especially, it is a big one. As you may already know, this year Minnesota is facing a marriage amendment that would constitutionally restrict same-sex marriage. But there is another amendment on the ballot that you really need to know about. Last spring, Senator Scott Newman and Representative Mary Kiffmeyer authored and proposed an amendment to require citizens to present a government-issued photo ID in order to vote in future elections, which would have to be approved by voters on Election Day. This has sparked a huge debate in Minnesota, through rallies, advertisements, and, well, of course, debates. So why vote no? Voter ID is common sense, right? Well, Chief Justice Earl Warren once said, "The right to vote is the right to have rights." Voting is a foundation of democracy, and many people have thought it worth fighting for. Women fought and won during the suffrage movement, and people of color fought and won during the civil rights movement. Why should we have to fight again? Lawmakers want us to think that the voter ID amendment will prevent voter fraud, but it will actually restrict the rights of thousands of Minnesotans. So what's the deal with voter fraud in the first place? The voter ID amendment would only prevent voter impersonation, a type of voter fraud which is very rare and hasn't been documented to have affected the outcome of any U.S. election to date. Only 10 cases of voter impersonation have been recorded since 2000, and 146 million voters were registered during this period. The odds of voter impersonation occurring during this election are lower than the odds of being struck by lightning in your lifetime and are as fictional as this silent film. Here's what voter fraud really looks like. Take this guy. He represents 1,000 voters. The amount of voter fraud that actually happens would be equal to his little toe, or the nail on his index finger. But how many people would be disenfranchised if they all represent 1,000? Well, it's this many. 215,000 registered voters lack driver's license or don't have IDs that show their current addresses. These people will find it much harder to vote come Election Day if this amendment passes. So who are these people without valid IDs? Well, seniors, students, low-income Minnesotans, people with disabilities, people of color, persons on military bases, people who move frequently, those living in rural areas, trans people, and, well, you get the idea. So what else does it do? Well, it'll do away with absentee voting and replace it with provisional balloting, which would require you to somehow verify your absentee ballot. If you can't do that, your vote won't be counted. It would make same-day registration nearly impossible, as the language of the amendment would require verification of identity prior to a ballot being cast or counted, which means that a same-day vote would have to be checked against other official records to be substantially equivalent to a pre-registration. That cannot happen on the same day as a ballot is cast. Finally, it would cost our state hundreds of millions of dollars to provide free IDs to stop a problem that doesn't exist. This is a big question for Minnesota. You could almost say, this is the grand experiment. Our state has so much to be proud of. We're a forerunner in renewable energy. We're the most bike accessible in the nation. We have the rich resources of the Iron Range, and we have the second highest theater attendance per capita in the nation. We're home to groundbreaking medical institutions. We're also rich in diverse human resources. We're an agricultural breadbasket. We are a Great Lakes state that values our clean water, and in 2008, we had the highest voter turnout in the nation. So let's give ourselves another election year we can all be proud of, and vote no.